Hey guys, so I've got an opportunity here to review another truck for you today. This one is a 2022 Ram 1500. It's a Laramie. So you remember the 2020 model that I had, it was a Bighorn. Well, this one's a Laramie and it's got some extra features that mine didn't have. And honestly, this is probably the nicest truck I've ever gotten to spend time with. So let's go check this out. So first of all, let's go over the exterior real quick. Obviously, this is the sport package. One of the really nice things I love about the sport package is the hood. You can see it's got this really flashy, awesome looking hood. It looks, well, sporty, like it's supposed to. These vents are not necessarily functional vents, I don't think, but they look really cool. I love the sport edition hood. So yeah, sport package on this one. It's a Laramie. Something else I love about the Laramie is these fender flares. You get the body color painted flares, which look really nice. These wheels and tires are actually an upcharge, but I think they match this truck really well. So a couple of interior differences here that you have with the Laramie. This nice suede insert. Of course, you got some additional stitching here. This one has the perforated leather seats, and these seats are pretty comfy. They're not as soft and cushy as the cloth seats, but they are very comfy, and you can see obviously they're perforated, which we'll get to in just a minute. You got the Laramie stitching. I love how they did the suede around here though. I mean, it's just super nice. I went to Dairy Queen this morning. You can see the console, which I used to always rave about in my 2020. Very, very awesome console because you can slide this tray in and out. You got all kinds of storage there and there. Mat pockets or pockets for paperwork there on the sides. Tons of storage. You got USB ports, the whole 9 yards. Now this one has the 8.4-inch screen. You can get the big 12-inch screen if you want to. But, you know, I think that this is a pretty nice size screen for this particular type of truck. You can still have your buttons for all your climate control and stuff like that, you know. Let's see if I can get the camera in here to try and do this justice. So I'm sitting behind myself, and I've got several inches of knee room. This is a huge difference, and this is what I always say. When you go from a mid-size truck to a full-size truck, this is where you're going to notice it, is in the back seat. Okay, the second row seating, this is where all the magic happens on the full-size truck because you have all kinds of space here. You can put adults back here. You can put a lot of luggage back here. You can fold these seats up, and it's almost like having an SUV. Just lots of space, lots of comfort. I mean, you can't get this in any mid-size truck. Now you do still have USB on this particular truck. You can see that the 115-volt outlet has been deleted. So let's talk about that for just a second. So probably the biggest change for 2022 is the deletion of certain features. Now every truck that shows up seems to have certain things deleted. It seems to be very random. It all has to do with computer chip shortages and supply chain shortages and all that. So like this particular truck, the under seat storage bin was deleted according to the window sticker, and the power inverter and 115-volt AC outlets were also deleted. So on a Laramie, normally you would have an outlet right here, and you would have an outlet up there in the front of the console, and you can see they've just put a plate over it because all of that was deleted. I was talking to another guy online, and he said that his Sport Edition hood that I just showed you a moment ago was deleted on his truck. So when his truck showed up, even though it had the Sport package on it, they had put a regular hood on it. And they credit, you know, when they do this kind of thing, they put a credit on the window sticker, but the credit never covers the cost to the buyer of retrofitting these things. So in other words, if you bought this truck, you know, on the window sticker, they had a $40 credit for deleting this, but you can't go and buy the outlets and the wiring and the inverter and all that stuff for $40 yourself. So the buyer still ends up getting screwed on some of these things. And when you order one of these trucks, you just never know what content is going to be deleted when it shows up. So that's probably the biggest change now for 22. And I think some of the other manufacturers are dealing with the same kind of stuff. And we're going into the 2023 model year very soon here. I expect this to continue. You know, you order one of these trucks, you deck it all out the way that you want, but certain things may not be available. So it may either really delay your build, or it may be shipped without some of that content. So just keep that in mind. But overall, I still think that these Ram 1500s are the nicest trucks that you can buy. The interior is just beautiful, extremely functional. They put the features in here that you really can use. And I want to go up front now and talk about a couple of those that I really like on this Laramie. All right, so on my Bighorn, I had heated seats and a heated steering wheel, which you guys all know is my favorite feature ever. On the Laramie here, you actually have ventilated seats also. So these perforated leather seats are also ventilated. And let me tell you something, it's August in Kentucky, it's smoking hot right now. And when you get in this truck in the afternoon, it's been parked outside, you turn that ventilation on in the seat, it really does make a big difference. So I really like that. That's a great feature. You can see that you still have the 4 auto. Okay, so it's kind of like the old Select Track transfer cases from like the old ZJ model of Grand Cherokee and so on and so forth, where you have every setting you could possibly want. 2-wheel drive for those hot summer days, 4 low if you're out, rock crawling or off-road or whatever. You got your standard 4 high out in the, muddy fields or doing work on the farm or what have you. But you also have the auto setting for winter time, snow and ice. So that's great to have all the options you could possibly want. This truck was optioned out with the trailer steering, and I got an opportunity to try this out yesterday. We hooked up a boat, went to the boat ramp, and I tried that feature out, and it does work pretty good, and I'm going to show you some footage of that here right now. So I'm trying out this trailer steering, where you can just turn this knob, you don't have to touch the steering wheel at all. And it's working pretty good, actually. So yeah, that's kind of a neat feature, actually. I didn't think I would ever actually use this because I've been backing trailers up for decades, but it's kind of neat, and it puts that little, indicator on here to help you keep everything straight. So kind of neat. So having said all of that, it does work pretty good. It's a really neat feature, it is, but the more I use it, the more I realize that I don't think that it's something that's for me. And I think that most guys in my shoes that have been towing for a long, long time, you're probably going to find that you don't use this. It's just as easy, once you've been doing it for a long time, it's just as easy to drive the truck yourself and do it yourself. And sometimes when you're used to towing and you're used to backing in trailers, I could see how this could actually be a detriment because it's sort of backwards of what your brain is thinking, But anyway, for a guy who's a rookie, who's, just buying your first truck, your first camper, your first boat, whatever, this could be a potentially really cool feature. To use it, all you do is turn it on, and then it'll tell you, it'll give you instructions up here what to do. So anyway, this one has the trailer towing group, which includes this. It also has this trailer brake controller, which I really like. You got your tow haul button and your ability to turn off your parking sensors so that if you have a trailer back there, it doesn't beep constantly. So that's a nice upgrade. This one is a Laramie Level 1 package truck. And, we already talked about the awesome seats and the interior and everything. You do have a 12-volt DC outlet up here, but unfortunately the 115-volt AC outlets have been deleted on this particular truck. Super nice trucks, and out of all of the trucks that I have had in my driveway, my Ram was my favorite one, hands down. So, now that I'm kind of like not really wanting to go with the EV truck after all, this is a very strong contender on the list. So look up here above us on the upper console up here, and you have light switches. This is to drop your tailgate. You have some safety assistance features here, a power sliding rear window. Camera's not really doing a very good job of focusing on this stuff, but another thing this truck has is LED lighting. So let me go out and show you the difference here between the reflector and the projector LEDs. So yeah, this is what the reflector LED looks like. and they do work pretty well. I had an opportunity to drive this truck after dark and they work pretty well. You also have LED down here for your fogs, but if you get the even higher trim levels or packages, you can get LED projector headlights, which do an even much better job than these. Now, like you've already seen, this truck doesn't have the Eco Diesel, it's got the Hemi. Obviously, the base engine in these Rams is the Pentastar, which makes 305 horsepower, so it actually feels pretty good just driving the truck around. But the thing about the Pentastar is it doesn't make much torque. It's still rated 269, just like it is in the other vehicles. They put that engine in, even though it's got higher horsepower. So the torque is really lacking, and in a big truck like this, when you go to tow something, you really want the torque. So I really recommend that if you're gonna get one of these, you at least step up to this engine right here. This is the non-e-torque version of the Hemi V8. I would have really liked to do some review and try out the e-torque version because that's really intriguing to me. But the thing about not having e-torque is it is a much simpler system. So this one doesn't have any wiring going to a 48 volt battery pack and all that kind of stuff. It's just your simple old tried and true Hemi V8 like we've had for many, many years now. So there's something to be said definitely for the simplicity. The manual recommends 89 octane fuel. You can put 87 in it, which I have tried, and I've also tried the 89. I haven't seen a big difference, but the manual does recommend 89, which around here where I live is mid-grade fuel. So that's gonna be 30 cents per gallon higher, unfortunately. If you use the mid-grade fuel, this engine is rated 395 horsepower and about 410 pound-feet of torque. So it does feel pretty strong. Now, one thing about this truck, this one has the standard 321 axle ratio, and you can get a 392 axle ratio, which my Eco Diesel had. And the 321 definitely feels a little bit different when you drive it. You can tell that it's got a taller gear in it for sure. But with the 8-speed transmission, you don't really give up a whole lot of power overall and speed, acceleration, that kind of thing. It just feels different because the gears are taller. One big negative though, an objective negative, is that with the 321 ratio, you lose towing capacity. So this particular truck is rated a little over 8,000 pounds towing. You can configure these trucks to well over 10,000 pounds of towing, but you gotta have the 392 axle ratio. So if you go for the 321, which gives you fuel economy, you're giving up some towing capacity. Now as we take a look under hood here though, you can see that there's all kinds of space. If you're a shade tree mechanic and you're planning on keeping this long term, which means one day down the road you're gonna have to do maintenance and work on it, you can see all of your coil packs are real easy to get to over there for spark plug changes. Lots of room down here in front of the engine to work. Over on this side, I think these front two wouldn't be too bad, but that number 3 coil pack on this side is buried back there underneath of the brake booster. It's kind of hard to see right in there. So just looking at it, I would say that one would probably be quite difficult to get to, and the one behind it, probably not very easy to get to that one either, but this number 3 one here would be a nightmare. You'd have to have some special tools to get down and do that one, but otherwise everything is right here, easy to get to. Alternators right there, throttle body. You know, it's easy to get to your belt. You need to change the belt one day, so maintenance looks to be pretty easy on this engine. And you know, it's not like shoehorned in here with a bunch of junk around it like you see on other brands, so I really like that. So decked out the way that this truck is decked out, it looks like the payload is 1,633 pounds on this particular truck. So, you know, for a half-ton truck, that's a pretty decent amount of payload, especially when you consider you've got that coil spring rear end that rides so good on these Rams. So another feature that I discovered that this truck has is automatic windshield wipers. So you turn the wipers onto that.
GPS signal lost.
GPS signal lost. Okay. Google's trying to have a conversation with me while I'm trying to have a conversation with you. But anyway, you put the wipers on that first detent, and then, I mean, you can select other detents off also, you know, depending on how responsive you want it to be. But when it starts raining and the truck senses that there's rain on the windshield, it'll turn the wipers on automatically, which is kind of cool. And it's been around for a long time, especially on like luxury cars and what have you. But we're starting to see some of these things, you know, transition over to pickup trucks now. And this is the first time I've driven a vehicle. Like I said, it's been raining here. First time I've driven a vehicle that has that system on it, and it's really cool. You know, you don't ever have to take your hands off the wheel. All of the wiper function is automatic, and the harder it rains, the faster the wipers will go. And then when the rain slows down, the wipers slow down. I mean, it works really good. And to be honest, I don't know which technology they're using to sense that, if it's capacitive or if they're somehow using the radar unit up there in the mirror cluster or what, but it works pretty good. So, you know, you got all this comfort in here, the leather seats, the ventilated seats, the automatic headlight or wipers, the LED headlights. You got all of this stuff in here. It's almost like driving a really nice car, but you still have that bed out back and the ability to tow a bunch of weight and everything. So it's pretty obvious how pickup trucks have become the best selling vehicles in the country. And I think Ram has the best truck. It looks the best inside, looks the best outside, got the nicest features. You know, I looked, you know, at reviewing some other trucks like the Chevy Silverado. It's really interesting when you look at the Silverado how much stuff they're deleting off of their trucks. They're deleting like entire packages and things that you can't get anymore. So I guess, you know, like I said, the decontenting of these trucks due to the supply chain issues is hitting all the companies, but it seems like it's hitting GM the worst. Great truck here, though. Kudos to Ram for putting out such an awesome vehicle. So yeah, like I was saying, you know, I did that video recently where we were talking about how I'm having second thoughts on that Silverado EV, and there's lots of reasons for that. The main one is towing range. The towing range just kills those electric trucks right now. So I'm kind of back to square one on that. Time running very short on the Nissan Frontier. This Ram, you know, like I said, you know, I think back to all the vehicles that have been in my driveway, and the Ram, the 2020 Ram, 5th gen Ram, that's just my favorite. It's just an awesome truck. I just love it. Every time I get it and drive it, I just love it more. So this one is probably like top of the list. Been kind of thinking about maybe a diesel truck again, but I don't know, man. Those diesel trucks are so complicated these days, and fuel is expensive. Right here where I live, diesel fuel is $1.20 a gallon more than 87 octane gas. And you got all that maintenance and everything too. So yeah, I think I need to stay away from the diesels and just stick with gasoline. But yeah, the Laramie is a sweet package. It really is a nice trim level, what I should say. And some of the packages they offer on the Laramie are really nice as well. Got some luxury stuff, but most of this stuff is stuff you can really use. It's functional. It's not just gimmicky, you know, circus act kind of stuff. It's really useful stuff. So I don't know. We'll see.